I'm not going to hold it against a game that's trying to be a narrative piece.
I'm also going to...
He's going to stay in that coat for the rest of it.
3 games that offer 3 vastly different experiences, all of them fun, but only one can win. Today, Jim Caddick, Barry Kramer, Gerard Khalil, and Shane Gill join me, Forrest Lee, as we decide which of these games deserves to move on to the winners' finals. It's Final Fantasy VII, Spyro the Dragon, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, and this is Madness.
Welcome back to the winners' semifinals of PlayStation 1 Madness. This is the weirdest matchup perhaps in this entire bracket, but 3 of the best games. It's Final Fantasy VII, Spyro the Dragon, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
This is what it's like when worlds collide.
I hate this, and I'll tell you why. Spyro is not the best Spyro game. Spyro 1 is far from the best Spyro game. But I haven't played Pro Skater 2, and I played 3 hours of Final Fantasy VII, so by default I have to pick Spyro, and I don't feel good about it, but I can't be fair.
10 seconds in, don't vote yet.
I can't add anything to the conversation.
You will be able to add things, just like,
okay, we'll see then.
Let it roll.
Alright, okay.
Here's the thing, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 has it all. It's got compelling characters, an emotional narrative, RPG elements, pre-rendered CG cutscenes.
It actually does have RPG elements.
Does it?
You unlock balancing.
I know they have stats. I don't remember the stats changing.
Yeah.
Oh, like different wheels and stuff would change.
Yeah.
It does have RPG elements.
It was just a bit, but it turned out to be real.
I would have to go by your word on this, because if it is similar to the Underground and Wasteland and all those other ones that go on later, then I would
probably just a less evolved version of the same idea.
Okay.
There.
It sounds like all right.
It's immediately pick up and play fun. It holds up to the test of time. The soundtrack is a jam and a half, as we've already discussed.
Okay, all right.
What else do you need?
Yeah, best soundtrack in this matchup.
Has it got apes with helmets in it?
No, but it does have Spider-Man.
Gerard's Sadness.
That's my sideshow.
Yeah.
We renamed the show Sadness with the blue S.
It's just me quietly drinking from this mug right here.
Hey,
Sponsored
Buy a sadness mug. Let me know in the comments down below.
Sponsored by Gerard's Tears.
Gerard, why don't you tell us about Final Fantasy VII, because that game is so big that I'm sure there's a skateboarding minigame in there somewhere.
I'm assuming you're voting for Spyro.
I was joking.
I know you were joking, but it's not skateboarding, it's snowboarding.
Okay.
Is there a fire-breathing dragon minigame
in Final
Fantasy VII?
Surely.
Where you collect gems and rescue dragons.
Is your health a dragonfly?
Oh, I see. You're trying to see like.
I thought you were talking about Tony Hawk, and I was like,
sure.
It's the music composed by Stuart Copeland of The Police.
Yeah. Is Spyro inside of Final Fantasy VII?
No.
Okay. Well, there are chocolate.
You can fly in Spyro.
This is uncomfortable for me personally, just because the internet has such a large love-hate relationship with Final Fantasy VII, and based on our previous discussions and our discussions like off camera, I feel like I'm the only one that likes Final Fantasy VII, and so it's kind of.
I like it. I just haven't played it.
It's hard for me to like articulate my points because. I don't know I can't pinpoint what I'm gonna say.
Okay, I can do the words for you. Okay,
sure.
Right. Okay, so last night, this dude was in power stance mode. You were basically trying to convince me to play Final Fantasy VII. He told me every detail of the story, and it took maybe half an hour, and it sounded fascinating, and he was passionate, and I now want to go and play Final Fantasy VII because of him just explaining it to me.
Well, I mean,
so that is the
half
level.
An hour sounds impressive.
That is the level of love. That's the level of love on display.
No, that's what I mean. An impressively short amount of time to condense that in half an hour.
And this guy and you have to complete games for a living within a time limit, and he took that much time out to get me to play Final Fantasy VII again. That's the love. So there you go.
Thank you. I think we have to take some blocks, like, and build, right? I think we have to get kind of legally with this. Let's start with the music. I think Final Fantasy VII arguably has some of the most iconic music ever heard in the video game mythos.
I will concede that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2's original soundtrack is not as strong.
It's not actually original. If we're talking,
it's licensed.
If we are talking original music in Tony Hawk Pro Skater versus Final Fantasy VII,
I think Final Fantasy VII wins out by a little.
There's about a 45-second looping track that's the menu of Tony Hawk,
which also might be licensed for all we know.
For all we know, it could be like a YouTube library, like licensee kind of track.
They just bought a CD.
Versus Uematsu's impeccable score. Where,
One of the greatest video game soundtracks.
I mean,
of all
you
time.
got Aerith's theme, you have the battle theme, you have One Winged Angel.
Best song.
One Winged Angel is so iconic that back when I was a super cool kid on the Kingdom Hearts forums, it was the thing that played in my profile.
Yeah, I mean, look, everyone.
That's deathly.
Well,
Do you have an Angel Fire page?
Well, I think the two to go with it, along with the music, is that the music tells you exactly how to feel across the board, which sounds basic for most games, right? Like if you hear sad music, you should feel sad. Happy, you should feel happy. But it's almost as like an epic orchestra is instructing you how to feel. And like when you hear One Winged Angel and you hear like the even Sephiroth's theme, which is like the bell, like the boom. You get like the sense that like the most villainous man of all time, who has no given, is carrying a massive sword,
Comically large.
and he goes, "I want to end the planet."
Yeah. Music conveys the intent of the characters and their emotions of the characters very well.
I have never been scared by you ever. But you hitting the table in that interval, I was quaking in my boots.
So at the very least, if we're talking music comparison, the music block, I think Final Fantasy VII.
I mean, even I think
No, I
of
agree,
the
I
opening
agree.
cutscene to Final Fantasy VII, where it like zooms out from Aerith and then it gets to the logo, and you have this big reveal, and then it drills back in, and you're like, oh.
People underestimate how important it is. You watch. Spoiler alert! Aerith's death.
We talked about last season.
Yes.
Last episode.
Okay, all right. So you take her theme out of it. It's a different scene. It's a completely different scene. It's so important.
That first scene, going back a second, that first scene for Final Fantasy VII, like, as much as I love Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, I think if you play any song from that soundtrack in an E3 reveal trailer, people aren't gonna lose their shit. But I like you can put that Final Fantasy song for the like remake reveal. Even in like when Cloud was revealed for Smash. Just how many reaction videos people going like, no.
You're telling me I was
You were
at
the guy.
Nintendo HQ and they made me watch it 2 weeks in advance before anyone else.
I've seen the picture.
And I sat there with like trembling, holding the NDA after I saw it. I was like, how do I not tell the world? What? Yeah, the music is top notch. Nobuo Uematsu at its greatest.
Well, it's also like you were talking about. It expresses the intent of the characters and everything. But with stuff like Aerith's theme, it's almost like it's a call and response kind of thing, isn't it? It's like it's not just a somber piece of music, but when it's played out of context from her death and when you're like talking with her or whatever, it's got different meanings depending on what's going on. But it's the same piece of music. But you can look at it you can look at it as a calming kind of it's the flower girl. Oh my god, she's f***ing dead.
Yeah,
and it's exactly the same piece of music, but it's
It's almost like how, in real life when you hear a song, sometimes it'll have one huge context and a life event will happen to you, and it's a completely different
What's the word
context.
for a
It's the
double
exact-
meaning? What's the word for a double meaning?
Double entendre. They managed to condense that into a video game, which is really cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think if we're talking graphically speaking, this is a rough one, right? Because I'd say half of Final Fantasy VII is cutscenes and looks incredible, and there's moments where you interact with cutscenes and you're in those pre-rendered backgrounds and it's breathtaking, and the other half is blockmen. And you have the little block fists, and you're like, what the hell is this? And that's not how I imagined it, and it's I don't get it. No one has mouths, and people are doing a lot of this and awkward, uncanny eye blinking. I think at the time we had to look at it and go, well, before we got timeless sprites, and now we're taking Final Fantasy into the 3D 4A. This was the first Final Fantasy that was 3D.
It was similar to how on the NES the sprites barely conveyed what they were supposed to be.
Correct, and they did have sprite sets.
Go to Atari. I mean, Jesus Christ. But
Right.
But that's like not even being able to convey what it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
Like, at least on
yeah.
the NES, you could get a sense.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Like that guy has a hat.
And where Final Fantasy VII succeeds with its blocking, with its like blockiness, it's actually in, I'm going to say in a theater term, blocking. Like Cloud, for instance, if he's sad or doesn't know if he's unsure, he has a lot of like scratching behind the back, and you know immediately what's conveyed, as opposed to like not having featureless functions.
Yeah.
It also speaks to the art direction that the cast of characters is so instantly identifiable from, oh, here's a blob of skin tone with this hair. You're like,
this is
I know
Barrett,
that is instantly.
this is Cloud,
Yeah.
this is Kate Sith, like, so on and so forth.
And I think that very dynamic, diverse cast is something that's apparent in a lot of Final Fantasies, but I think it's especially a strong suit of 7. As a very casual fan of the series, as much as people love the cast, Final Fantasy 15, the main quartet, they are almost the same character. Imagine a Final Fantasy 7 version of the 4 of them. You'd be like, okay, that one I guess has glasses?
That one's blonde.
That one's blonde?
Prompto and Noctis are like a combination of Zack and Cloud,
Yeah.
but they even look more the same than Zack and Cloud do. So it's
Right.
like they're almost the same person.
They only work because
And they're best
it's
friends.
HD.
They're
And
like,
it's
I was
very-
about to say it's almost a victim of like how much like graphics have improved. Back in 7, they had to be so drastically.
They had to
different.
over-design
They're
them,
basically
yeah.
comic book characters.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison.
Yeah, it's just striking broad colors
Yeah.
and exaggerated features.
And how did we be talking about Final Fantasy IX?
Not
We
the
would-
game we're talking about.
Not the game
Gerard.
we're
That
talking
was
about. We would also
clearly-
notice that the graphics were much better in Final Fantasy IX.
Not
But
that it's not
anyways,
Gerard.
But you
that's-
lose
but
that
it
kind of
lost.
abstraction.
yeah, you're right.
It's more like, oh, that's that character, instead of when you go into the battle in Final Fantasy 7, you're like, oh, that's what that character
That's
looks
the
like.
thing, though. The battle sequences, you know, in Final Fantasy VI, right? The sprites show up, they stay the same the whole way through. But in 7, it's like you got this blocky thing, and then it goes and you see Cloud with the sword, and you're like, oh, that's what he looks like. You instantly identify with.
He has
that's what
fingers, kind of.
The portrait looks like that. That's how he's supposed to look, and immediately you kind of piece together in your own mind. I know when I was a kid, I saw those characters walking around.
You also, I think you have to consider as well that like you can have the same emotions conveyed in 9 and 7, but the fact that 7 is able to do it with much lower polys and stuff like that says quite a lot. You're like, they didn't need to rely on the graphics to get their point across.
You know what game is not very abstract? It's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
What you see is what you get.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Actually, I wanted to compare the casts of these two games because it is really cool that you get to play as Spider-Man.
Yes, it is.
But also, might as well not be. It's just a skin, basically.
They're all the same.
Yeah. Well, you
Their
have
stats are different, but they're all the
moves. You have different moves.
Yeah, you got different special
You
moves.
play as a cop,
Ooh.
Officer Dick.
Officer Dick.
But like, I don't remember pretty much anyone else from that game. Tony Hawk, obviously.
Bob
Bob
Burnquist.
Burnquist.
Bucky Lasek. Was that eye surgery?
Yeah, I think the Play-Doh of who you play as in Tony Hawk is almost unimaginable, right? You don't need I always
It's like
did.
selecting a car in a game.
Yeah,
It's like the
yeah.
characters don't mean it.
I always
And you only see
I
the
always
back of their head
chose-
most of the time anyway.
You just choose your favorite.
until I
Spider-Man.
unlocked Spider-Man. Legitimately, I would just build a custom character
Yeah.
and just that was me in the game. Make the best version of yourself. That's the character. That's the game.
Could you make your own
You
character? in that
can,
game?
yes.
Wow.
Can't do that in Final Fantasy 7.
Custom characters have been a thing for years, though. So I'm not going to hold it against a game that's trying to be a narrative piece.
I'm also going to.
He's gonna stay in that coat for the rest of.
I think it's unfair for me to praise Final Fantasy 7 when I didn't praise Final Fantasy 9 at all, but see, pretty sure not.
It was a bit. It was a bit.
It wasn't a bit. I have this much more familiarity with the actual gameplay of 7 than I do with 9. It's just what I've just osmosis from the popular culture surrounding 7 that it's just so much more a part of gaming culture.
Yeah.
And then also Square Enix is aware of this as well. So you have like Advent Children and Cloud popping up and things. It's a series that has transcended just the game itself that it's in.
Right.
So I'm familiar with all this cast of characters, and I've seen posters of them for my entire life, and so I think that and also that combined with the industrial world that it's in, which is something that is more visually interesting to me than a medieval fantasy world. I'm just like, oh, I want to see what this is about.
I kind of gauge Square Enix's confidence in their Final Fantasy brand based on
the products that they create.
that and also which characters show up in Kingdom Hearts.
That too.
And like all of them are in Kingdom Hearts.
A majority, almost every character, every main character from Final Fantasy VII is in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
When it could be an
Cloud.
opportunity for them to introduce lesser known characters, but like, just put Cloud in there.
Yeah, they have Cloud, Aerith, Tifa, Sephiroth, obviously, Yuffie.
Sephiroth. Sid's in there. Sid plays a very important role in Kingdom Hearts. And in Birth by Sleep, you play with Zack, who is very narratively important to Final Fantasy VII. towards the end of the game. And
Wasn't there a PSP
Final
game where you play as Zack?
Crisis Core, which is
Yeah.
one of the best games ever.
Final Fantasy
Yeah.
VII was so impactful that they wanted to put like Vincent Valentine in Kingdom Hearts 1 as well, and
Yeah.
just like
They couldn't figure it
they
out.
couldn't figure
yeah.
out, so they're just like, just give Cloud his outfit, I guess.
Yeah, he very much
Yeah.
looks like Vincent in that. Absolutely.
He has the metal armor and everything. It's weird.
And in Final Mix, they added a showdown between Sephiroth and Cloud.
Yeah.
Like
It's badass.
it was really cool.
You know who's not in Kingdom Hearts? Spyro the Dragon.
Spyro the Dragon
Or
is,
Tony Hawk.
Yeah.
Tony
Or
Hawk is
Spider-Man.
not.
Or
I
Spider.
don't think they can afford the license
For now.
Yeah, I mean, well, we'll see. If
Yo,
they
man,
did that in like a
I'm
year,
just saying,
like from the
I
Sony
went to a
deal.
Kingdom Hearts 3 preview event and I saw Tetsuya Nomura wearing a Avengers t-shirt. I'm just saying, anything can happen. Confirmed.
Confirmed.
Well, it's
Avengers
Disney.
and,
It's
It is.
Avengers and
Disney,
Smash
right?
confirmed.
Yeah.
As one unit, like
Absolutely.
Pokemon Trainer.
I'll be quick.
I do really think we should spend some time talking about Spyro.
It's better than Parappa the Rappa.
It's not a bad game. It's just unfortunate that it's up against one of the greatest RPGs of all time
And Final Fantasy VII.
No, and that was Gerard. That was a joke. Gerard, that was a joke. It's up against one of the greatest RPGs of all time and one of the funnest arcade sports games.
I think it's just that Spyro is good, but other games in the series maybe did it
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. And the not.
Thank you, Caddy.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Spyro is also not the ugliest game.
That's very true. Spyro is very
Final Fantasy
pretty.
VII is hands down the ugliest
Yeah,
game.
it
of
is.
the three.
Interesting.
Not even close. It
What, are
is
you just talking about the 3D graphics or the
just
entire
talking
picture?
about the entire thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think the pre-rendered stuff
The
is held
pre-rendered
up.
stuff is, I think the pre-rendered stuff holds up
I
still
don't
very well
like
to
that
this
game's
day.
aesthetic at all.
Yes.
Well, I disagree.
Sorry.
And this is not up for debate.
It is. Because I said so. I don't
some
like the
reason.
character design.
But that's not
either.
what that
it's
means.
like spiky hair, tits, black dude. Great job, guys.
Dragons. But then.
I don't know.
But then with Spyro,
but-
it's prettier, but lots of the dragons look identical.
They're just color swaps.
Lots of the enemies are pretty much the same. The environments
They're
are what
just color
sells
swaps.
Spyro, and obviously the design of Spyro.
We
Nice
talked
and
about the
sim-
level design earlier as well.
Yeah.
I think, Final Fantasy VII is very inspired by Japanese culture, right? Like, obviously things like that. But I feel like, and I don't mean this as a positive or a negative, but I think the trend of video game hero with spiky hair kind of caught on around the Final Fantasy VII era. Like, I'm not saying it defined it or like pointed out to that, but you saw a lot more characters from there go with the spiky hair.
Because
I
it's
think
probably
that-
easy to render with
I-
low poly counts.
To be honest, I don't think I'd credit that to Final Fantasy. I think that's
Oh.
more just the anime style becoming easier to translate.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that-
And you got to think it was kind of early in the PS1's life cycle, right? FF7.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that the game didn't start that trend by any means, but I think from a Western audience, people saw that spiky hair and were like, I want spiky hair now. Like, I think when more spiky haired characters
So you
are
think
showing
Frosty
up,
Tips
And then-
happened because of anime?
Yeah, no, and then no, and
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
essentially, yeah.
and then David Beckham did it.
Makes sense.
I look at Cloud's hair in the same way I look at Yugi's hair from Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just kind of like,
Yeah,
that's
it is.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think one of the things we talked about earlier when it came to Final Fantasy IX was we talked about like it was digestible to play. From a combat perspective, Final Fantasy VII I think is one of the most simple out of all
Yeah, you
of
just
the.
press X.
You can argue you could just press X in that case, but you can argue the same thing.
The
with
equipment
most
is a little bit
RPGs.
dumbed down, right?
It's
a little
very
bit less
it's a
involved.
very easy system. You have a sword, a weapon, and an accessory.
Right.
And
which
those-
appeals to someone like me who doesn't play a lot of RPGs and doesn't want to spend half an hour in my menus every time I pick up a single trinket.
Right. So in the world of Final Fantasy VII, there's this life source called Mako, and Mako basically is a metaphor for gasoline, if you will. It's like a oil. So like Shinra, the evil company, they farm Mako, and that's like the basic plot of what the game starts out as.
They're sucking the life out of the Earth or
Absolutely.
whatever planet.
Correct. They create these little materia things called materia. They're little orbs, little marbles, and each one has different properties. Those properties being what we know from Final Fantasy. So things like fire, lightning, water, ice, poison. Yeah, Captain Planet. Summons, you can summon Bahamut, Neo Bahamut, things like that. And so, and even moves like stealing and mugging and multiple cut. So the combat system essentially is you take those materia, you put them in the weapons, and that's it. And you now have those abilities. And so it's pretty simple for someone who's very unaware of how to play Final Fantasy, where in most cases, in traditional Final Fantasies, there's the mechanic you'd have to learn, and that curve is a bit more skewed depending on what game you're playing. In 6, you have to equip espers and learn the skills from them directly, which takes time. This is more like you can trade the gear out pretty easily. It's pretty easy to do, and it's not. And the material itself has individual levels.
Conversely, the RPG mechanics within Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 are arguably fairly light. I don't think anyone would argue that upgrading your wheels and increasing your acceleration stat really changes how you play the game. It's just kind of numbers that
Makes things easier for you.
You don't get a sense of progression over the course of a career in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. You're just kind of, the levels change how you play, not your character's own journey, I think.
It's kind of like getting new wheels on a car.
A little bit. It's the same car.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm saying the RPG mechanics might be better in Final Fantasy VII. I'm agreeing with you.
Also, also you can summon and you can do magic and everything in FF7.
You can summon Spider-Man in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
But
So-
what I love about
Go for it.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, I love how pick up and playable it is, because literally all you have to do to have fun in that game, if you have no idea what you're doing, is just skate around. You don't have to do any tricks, just X is jump.
That's very true.
You can just explore the level.
Yeah.
And that's
Lots of
already
things to
fun.
see, and
It was this was still an era where just exploring a 3D space was interesting and exciting in and of itself.
I feel like a lot of the skate letters you could collect without doing moves.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A
Yeah,
lot of them
you
were just.
can,
Sometimes you'd have to grind somewhere, but like, that's also where over the course of the levels they get a little bit more complex. Just hanging out in the hangar is a relatively simple experience. It's like one room divided, but the controls are very easy and learnable. The experience comes into learning all the special moves, all the different moves that exist, and learning how to chain them together with manuals and whatnot, and going after your top high score. But I think it is a game where you can just pick it up and you're off. You're fun. You're having fun.
And the things you learn aren't that complicated either. It's just like 1 or 2 button presses. It's not like Street Fighter, where you have to memorize an 8-button input or something.
Yeah, like the biggest special moves are like up, down, circle. That's like a big special move, because usually it's just
more like
a
Mortal
direction.
Kombat than-
Yeah. But
Watching someone play that game who's like really good at it is like watching a professional Smash player, because they're just like.
yeah, but it's a game that has a lot of focus, where
Yeah.
you drop into a level. It's like, here's your list of objectives. It's like pinball, where it's like, here's all the
Yeah,
objectives
yeah.
you're going after. What do you want to go after? It's up to you. So you have a little bit of freedom within this little tight space. You got a time limit, which kind of sucks, but then there is the free mode where you can just explore your leisure. But it's a very focused game, and it's got just a very strong aesthetic, especially for the day, that just makes you feel like a 90s skater. And that was the dream for all of us 90s kids.
We have to start wrapping up, so I'm gonna ask you guys to combine your final points with your votes, because I feel like you two are pretty locked. Or you can just jump into your vote, whatever you want to do.
I mean, look, I love Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. It's one of the greatest games of all time. But I also love Final Fantasy VII, so it's hard. I think the value in Final Fantasy VII is so much higher for me. And as someone who loves JRPGs, actually as someone who like didn't really know they liked JRPGs and then played 7 and reaffirmed that fact, it's not my favorite Final Fantasy, but I think it is, quite honestly, one of the best games ever made. Final Fantasy VII is one of those games where the fandom or the people behind it are like, it's overhyped, I don't get it. And it's like, that's why I made a fucking 3.5 hour documentary on the whole series, because there is importance to it, there is reverence to it, and I think it did a lot for the gaming industry, and it's just special to me. So I can't convince everyone of that, but you know, I think I kind of give up on that in general. And so I think that's, you like it, if you like it, you like it. You don't like it, you don't like it.
So what's your vote?
Final Fantasy VII.
All right.
I think not only is Final Fantasy VII not my most favorite Final Fantasy game, it's not even my most favorite Final Fantasy game on this console. Whereas Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, when I think of that game, I think of nothing but fun times. It's like inseparable. You can't separate Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and fun, and games are about having fun. So my vote is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
So here's the thing.
Oh God.
You're gonna
Where's this going? Where's this going?
My heart is firmly locked in, but my mind is not.
Okay, let's just.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. No, because I had a lot of fun playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 as a kid. I had a lot of fun playing it the other day. It was the most fun I had of any of the games we played. But I think Final Fantasy VII is important, and also by the test of, if I had 2 CRTs in front of me, which one would I rather play? I would rather play Tony Hawk for a couple minutes, but I right now, if I had both in front of me, I would want to play Final Fantasy VII. It's a game I want to understand. Even if it's not the best Final Fantasy VII, it's a game that I've been curious about for decades. And even if it's not the best one, it's one that I want to experience at some point. And I think it's also it's the test of sending one hurtling into the sun and sending one to live off for millennia in the deep of space. I think Final Fantasy VII was an important game for JRPGs and for JRPGs on consoles and in 3D. And even if 9 is your favorite, 9 couldn't have happened without 7. Whereas I think we'd be okay without skating games. So I think I'm playing for Fantasy VII.
It's treason then.
And I don't know how I got there, but that's I've been sitting here this whole time just going, I don't know what I'm doing.
I've been doing that for the last 2 days, so
I'm doing that for the last 6 years of my career.
Jim?
I'm gonna break my own rules. I'm gonna completely throw them in the
Go
sun.
for it.
I'm throwing my rules in the sun now.
Yeah, please don't vote for Spyro, because then that would...
Okay,
everything.
so yeah, going from everyone's descriptions of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, that sounds like, especially for the second in the series on PS1, that sounds incredible because that is the one of the best. Like again, it's like what Shane was saying. The memories I've had with all the PS2 Tony Hawks are inseparable from anything I could say about the first Spyro. If it was the other Spyros, different story. First Spyro, no, I do not have the most memories with that one. But yeah, if it is as similar to the PS2 ones as everyone is saying, then I am actually going to trust everyone and say Pro Skater 2 because it sounds incredible. It sounds like it sounds like it. Yeah, because it's the PS1 version of that. Go for it, yeah. I've broken my own rules here. So come on, what are you going for?
Man, fuck you guys.
You're welcome.
I pick Spyro.
I personally think that Tony Hawk is the funner game. But on the purposes of this list, it has to be Final Fantasy VII. You did good, Gerard.
That's kind of rare.
That's what I said to him.
I did the internet.
That's what I said to him at 1:30 in the morning. I said those words, yes.
I know how much you wanted this one to win, and
That's not why I
you're
voted
pity
for
voting.
it. I didn't vote for it as a pity
pity
vote.
no, I'm not
voting.
pity voting.
Yeah.
I think Gerard did a really good job.
He did, yeah.
making his case for why this game is the winner in this particular bracket.
It breaks my heart, but I agree.
Yeah. Seven's a beautiful game.
Maybe.
Tony Hawk is also a beautiful game.
Yeah.
Well, I think for me, this was so hard because both games are great at what they do.
Yeah.
And that makes it hard.
Well, we'll talk about it more in the post show.
Yeah.
Who do you think should have made it to the finals? Let us know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe for more episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. Also, in case you missed it, check out the Losers Finals for more madness content.